Hello and welcome to True Audio with Johnny Truesdale. This is episode 8, Working with Real Drums Introduction. So maybe you're a hip hop guy or an EDM background, or you just play guitars and keys and you never really paid attention to real drums. Well, this is going to show you how to work with real drums in a DAW when you have them on individual tracks. So without further ado, here's episode 8. All right, here we are in Pro Tools. So we can see from here, we're at the edit screen, and I have little markers made for where the hi-hats are, where the drummer plays the ride, and where there's a fill. So we'll be able to get to that rather easily. I have my memory locations over here, and we'll be able to jump to those from the mix window. So let's jump back over to the mix window, and I'll put my memory locations over here, and it'll enable me to jump back around. So a lot of times when you're going to get tracks, now I know there's some processing and stuff on here and a deverb and all that stuff, but that's on it from the last time, so we're just going to just press ahead. I'm just going to leave that on there. But what you're going to do is you're going to end up getting tracks that are all mono, and they're all going to be at unity here. Okay, the way that I have this set up, I have it set up in series to this drum group over here, and then I can control the overall volume of the drums from the drum group. Again, this is just a note. Again, this is the Great Fraud. They're a band from New Jersey, and this is a demo that I did for them a few years ago. So I'll put that up on the screen for you. Anyway, back to the drums here. So you get the drums, and they're all set again at mono, and all of these faders are at unity. So the first thing that I do is I want to get a little panning going on. Okay, so I have a kick in, a kick out, a snare, a hi-hat, a tom, a rack tom, a floor tom, and an overhead left and right. Overhead left and right is generally drummer's perspective. So the hi-hat will be on the left and the ride cymbal will be on the right. Okay, now this is something that's handy to know ahead of time, but you can kind of check it out and solo them up and listen to it. So I'm going to pan those hard left and hard right. Look, if you're somewhere in between at like here and here, that's fine too. You don't have to be perfect. I generally leave my kick microphones and my snare microphones right down the middle. Now my hi-hat depends on what side that I want them on. So I'm going to mix drummer's perspective. So let's go over drummer's perspective versus audience perspective. Okay, so drummer's perspective is if you're sitting behind the kit and you want it laid out like the drummer is playing. So the hi-hat, again, left, right on the right here. Okay, we're talking about a right-handed drummer, which is the majority of drummers. Okay, we're not talking about Rod Morgenstein or Phil Collins. They're exceptions to the rules, exceptional drummers, but exceptions to the rules that most drummers play right-handed with the hi-hat on the left and ride on the right. Okay, so I have a rack tom, which generally sits in front of you, and a floor tom, which generally sits over here somewhere. So we're gonna mix them, and I'm gonna kind of place it kind of this way in the spectrum, and then I'm gonna take my floor tom and put it way over to the right. This will give my toms a little bit of panning when they're doing things. Now, the next problem is I can actually start doing this before I even listen. I kind of just get in the general ballpark, and it'll help me out. Now, how far I want to pan this hi-hat is subjective. It could be anywhere in this sort of area. So let's listen to it from the hi-hat position. So you can see that's all panned out. What I'm going to do again is I'm going to go and listen to it mono. Now let's go back to our pan positions. Really quickly here, we can go to our pan positions. And you can see how you could just start panning things really quickly, and you don't even have to spend a lot of time. So listen to this now. Sounds much better already. So the next thing I'll start doing is I'll start making I'll start making moves with the faders, and I'll pull them all down a little bit because we're clipping the bus here, out here, the main bus. And it's because we're mixing in the box, and I'm just showing you stuff in the box because I know most people are in the box here. So I'll lower them a few dB. I lowered them 3.6. You could do anywhere from, I don't know, 4 to 7 depending upon what interface you're using and so forth and so on. So the next thing I'll do is I'll lower them all that much. Now I'm not clipping anymore. So the next thing I'll do here is I'm gonna lower that hat right here quite a bit, and I'm gonna lower the toms because they don't need to be up too high. They're only gonna come in when they actually hit. Now they'll be live right now because if we look here, we can take a look and see. Well, they've been edited out, so you actually won't hear them. But if they weren't edited, you still want to lower them. You don't need them to be super loud. You can kind of figure out where you need them. I'm also going to pull my overheads down quite a bit. But always remember that your overheads are part of your snare, so you don't want to lower them too terribly much here. My snare I'll probably have a little bit higher than my kick drums, and I'll figure out which kick drum I want to be a little bit higher than that. And it kind of sits up something like this, most drums. Now, most drums sit up something like this. Let's take a listen to this here, and I'm going to solo up the drums. There you go. So that's kind of the best way. I know that's like really fast, but that's the object when you're getting this stuff together. Get it going. You can make tweaks. You can raise the overheads a little bit or lower them a little bit after you get going, but this is a good way to get your drums started. Get them sound good. Get them in the ballpark before you start to do anything else. And yes, I would do all that before I add any of the EQs or compressors or anything else that I have. But I was just showing you quickly how you can get a fairly decent drum sound up and running really quickly. So this is it for episode 8, and I'll see you guys next week.